Even if you're the Prime Minister, it seems the weather does have the last word. We are waiting, as you said, for Liz Truss to arrive here in Downing Street. 5 minutes ago, the lectern from which she was due to give her speech was whisked back inside because there was such a downpour here. The teams that had come out to support her retreated back inside as well, but now it's reappeared. The lectern is back in place. They've spotted a gap in the weather, and they are hoping that she is going to be able to make her speech from that position. The team, among others, to my right here, I see Therese Coffey, who's tipped to become Health Secretary, maybe a kind of Deputy Prime Minister. A few minutes ago, they were all back inside number 11 Downing Street because the weather was so bad. They've now all come out again because they're hoping that the new boss is about to arrive and will be able to make the speech here. You won't be able to see, but down at the other end of the street, down at the Whitehall end, there are, I can't really tell from here, but I think several dozen MPs who have come out also to support Liz Truss as she arrives to give her first speech to the nation as Prime Minister. It has all been a little bit topsy-turvy over the last 10 minutes because of the weather, but they are now clearly hoping that she is going to be driving in the gates of Downing Street any minute now, and we should be able to hear from her.
Yeah, it's looking dry right now. Hopefully it stays like that. But it's been very busy today where you are. Just talk us through what's happened.
Yes, well, the first thing that happened this morning was that Boris Johnson, at about 7:30 this morning, came out and gave his last speech from Downing Street before he was then whisked off in a jet up to Balmoral in Scotland to offer his resignation to Her Majesty the Queen. The Queen staying there because, as we were told, there were certain mobility issues and nobody wanted a change in the diaries at the last moment. On a separate jet, we're told for security reasons, Liz Truss then went up to went up to Balmoral, where she was asked by Her Majesty to form a government, and she said yes. And at that moment, she did become Prime Minister. She has been making her way back down from Balmoral since then. The weather has caused difficulties in terms of travel, but we are hoping that she's about to arrive here.
So, Andy, let's talk Boris Johnson, shall we? As you said, he was there 7:30 saying goodbye. Not quite hasta la vista, though.
Not quite hasta la vista. There was a certain tone in parts of his speech where he didn't seem like the happiest man to be departing Downing Street, clearly feeling that he'd been slightly badly treated by some of his colleagues. He deferred to handing over the baton to his successor, Liz Truss, as it becoming something of a relay race. He said that hadn't been expected, and he made a comment about them changing the rules halfway through. Well, a number of people took issue with that, saying no, the rules hadn't been changed. What had happened was he had lost the confidence of his party at that point. Having said that, well, there were an awful lot of MPs who had come out very early in the morning to offer their support and to show their loyalty, if you like, to the very end. I've spotted some faces, though. Some of the same MPs who are out this morning are clearly here again, down at the end of Downing Street, waiting to welcome the new Prime Minister, Liz Truss. And certainly everything we hear from Conservative MPs that I've been speaking to, certainly in public, if you can put it that way, is it's all about unity, it's all about coming back together again.
Okay. So we've seen this before, more times than many people can maybe count right now. Andy, what's very different, though, from the last times we've seen a new Prime Minister sworn in, is that they had to go to Balmoral, both Liz Truss and Boris Johnson.
Yes, they had to go up to Balmoral. Normally, the Queen would have been probably at Windsor at this point, but they had to go to Balmoral because she was staying there. And as a result, for Liz Truss, certainly, who were expecting any moment, this has been a very busy day. You're not the Prime Minister until the monarch asks you to be. So around lunchtime, Liz Truss arrived at Balmoral in Aberdeenshire today for her audience with the Queen. And this picture shows the moment when she was asked to form a government, and she accepted. The opposition want to keep the pressure on.
The Conservatives promised that they'd bring down the debt, they promised that they'd deal with the economy, and at the moment we've got the highest tax burden, highest inflation rates for decades, and we've got public borrowing on the increase, and that is not sustainable or acceptable.
It's been a long day. First thing this morning, more than 100 Conservative MPs, loyal to the end, had crowded into Downing Street for Boris Johnson's farewell. Inside, the outgoing Prime Minister made his way through applauding Downing Street staff, along with wife Carrie, before emerging through the famous Black Door. There he ran through what he regards as his achievements: Brexit, the vaccine rollout, support for Ukraine. But then he turned to the challenge facing his successor.
I know that Liz Truss and this compassionate Conservative government will do everything we can to get people through this crisis, and this country will endure it and we will win.
As for what he'll do next, he had a very characteristic flourish.
Let me say that I am now like one of those booster rockets that has fulfilled its function, and I will now be gently re-entering the atmosphere and splashing down invisibly in some remote and obscure corner of the Pacific.
And he had this.
OK, we are going to come out of Andy Bell's VT. We'll go back to him a little bit later, but we are going to go to Liz Truss, the nation's new Prime Minister, arriving to Number 10 to give her very first speech as Prime Minister. She's just arrived back from Balmoral in Aberdeenshire, where she was officially made Prime Minister. Boris Johnson was there before, stepping away, stepping down. But this is Liz Truss, the Tory party new leader and the nation's new Prime Minister, giving her first speech.
I have just accepted Her Majesty the Queen's kind invitation to form a new government. Let me pay tribute to my predecessor. Boris Johnson delivered Brexit, the COVID vaccine, and stood up to Russian aggression. History will see him as a hugely consequential Prime Minister. I'm honoured to take on this responsibility at a vital time for our country. What makes the United Kingdom great is our fundamental belief in freedom, in enterprise, and in fair play. Our people have shown grit, courage, and determination time and time again. We now face severe global headwinds caused by Russia's appalling war in Ukraine and the aftermath of COVID. Now is the time to tackle the issues that are holding Britain back. We need to build roads, homes, and broadband faster. We need more investment and great jobs in every town and city across our country. We need to reduce the burden on families and help people get on in life. I know that we have what it takes to tackle those challenges. Of course, it won't be easy, but we can do it. We will transform Britain into an aspiration nation with high-paying jobs, safe streets, and where everyone, everywhere, has the opportunities they deserve. I will take action this day and action every day to make it happen. United with our allies, we will stand up for freedom and democracy around the world, recognising that we can't have security at home without having security abroad. As Prime Minister, I will pursue 3 early priorities. Firstly, I will get Britain working again. I have a bold plan to grow the economy through tax cuts and reform. I will cut taxes to reward hard work and boost business-led growth and investment. I will drive reform in my mission to get the United Kingdom working, building and growing. We'll get spades in the ground to make sure people are not facing unaffordable energy bills, and we will also make sure that we are building hospitals, schools, roads and broadband. Secondly, I will deal hands-on with the energy crisis caused by Putin's war. I will take action this week to deal with energy bills and to secure our future energy supply. Thirdly, I will make sure that people can get doctor's appointments and the NHS services they need. We will put our health service on a firm footing. By delivering on the economy, on energy and on the NHS, we will put our nation on the path to long-term success. We shouldn't be daunted by the challenges we face. As strong as the storm may be, I know that the British people are stronger. Our country was built by people who get things done. We have huge reserves of talent, of energy and determination. I am confident that together we can ride out the storm. We can rebuild our economy and we can become the modern, brilliant Britain that I know we can be. This is our vital mission to ensure opportunity and prosperity for all people and future generations. I am determined to deliver. Thank you.
So that is our new Prime Minister, Liz Truss. She has delivered her very first speech as Prime Minister, starting off by paying tribute to her predecessor, actually, Boris Johnson, but then going on to talk about the issues, the current issues many people are facing right now, referencing Russia and, of course, its invasion of Ukraine and how she's going to approach that. Also saying that taxes, and confirming actually, taxes will be cut. She's going to boost business, build hospitals, schools, roads and broadband. So that's very interesting. She didn't speak about building hospitals in her campaigning, but she did say, crucially, that Liz Truss, the Prime Minister, will be taking action this week when it comes to tackling our energy bills. But on the whole, despite that very, very optimistic speech from Liz Truss in her first speech as Prime Minister, let's go back to our political editor, Andy Bell, who was outside number 10. You listened, you were right there listening to Liz Truss. Very interesting, starting by paying tribute to Boris Johnson.
Yes, and she's, to be fair, she did that also when she accepted the victory that she had from the Conservative Party leadership yesterday. There are an awful lot of people inside the Conservative Party, both in Parliament and in the country, who still have a lot of time for Boris Johnson, and so she is very happy, I think, to pay that tribute. But now it's all about her agenda, and as you say, a very optimistic speech there that she was offering to the country. She talked about wanting to make Britain an aspiration nation. She said, I'm sure we can make Britain the modern, brilliant country that I believe it can be. She talked about reforming the economy with tax cuts to encourage investment. Very much a message to say, yeah, as she said yesterday, I campaigned as a Conservative, I want to govern as a Conservative. In other words, very much about trying to open up the economy and if you like, allowing people to fulfill what they want to fulfill in their lives. Of course, there is also the massive issue of how she's going to deal with the energy prices. And she did say that was one of the three priorities she had. The first priority being that she wanted to get the country working again, as she put it, and that's in terms of cutting taxes. But the second one was, as she said, she was going to be a hands-on approach to dealing with the problem of energy bills, and she said that would be done this week. So perhaps we can anticipate an announcement. We're expecting something on Thursday. And her third priority was the NHS and allowing people to get the doctor's appointments they need. Those are the three things that she's identified, the three priorities she identified there, and that she says she will deliver on. And certainly got a very good response from people here. The MPs who are down at the other end of the street seem to resonate very well with them.